You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network. Den zei nou, schraam je iets in celery.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a long wait, we're finally back. It's episode 5 of the Angry Marks Rewind Show here on the Angry Marks Podcast Network, your number one source for mixed martial arts and pro wrestling news, information, and entertaining shows like this. Now, in the last couple of weeks, I've been pushing that we're going to get a brand new host. He's not a new host, but he is for this show. He's my partner for the Ring of Honor pay-per-view recap shows. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Poulin.
Good evening, whoever's listening.
Do they call you Michael, or do you just go by Mike?
Mike, yeah, it's usually Mike when I do. Yep.
So only family is allowed to call you Michael?
I don't know if anybody's calls me Michael unless I'm in trouble.
I was on WWE Network. I was flipping channels, and they had that my child is a WWE superstar, and they had the Miz on there, and Miz's mother is the star of that show. It's like, she's just my Michael. He's just wonderful and great.
Oh God.
My Michael.
That sounds insufferable.
What I like sometimes about some of these little network things is that they're only put on at the end of the regular shows, so they're only about little 10-minute fluff pieces.
To get you from one show to the next.
Yeah. What we are talking about this week is WCW Slamboree 1994.
From Philadelphia Civic Center.
From Philadelphia, PA. Now, this was, let me just give you a bit of background as far as my WCW viewership goes. Growing up in a tiny little rural Manitoba town, we only got about 4 channels, and one of them, the only wrestling we got was basically WWF syndication. So you got your like Wrestling Challenge, your Superstars, that sort of thing. We didn't even get Raw until 2006. Until 1996. So
I thought that was earlier.
One day in I guess April or May of 1994, as a young teenager, I'm flipping channels and I see something different. It's WCW, the first time being broadcast on Manitoba TV. Now, I had followed along with it because I read all the aftermaths and I had a big stack of magazines. So I knew about all the guys, but I'd never seen any of them. So when I started watching, it was the go-home show for this pay-per-view.
Oh.
And that didn't necessarily make this wrestling good or better than WWF. It was just different.
Yeah.
So different was good. What was your first impression of this show? And when did you start watching WCW?
Probably around this time, if not probably a few months before this, because I remember watching the January 94 Clash where Bobby Heenan debuted as an announcer. Okay,
so there's a lot of talk in the weeks leading up to this show that WCW was actually really lucky because they had to make a ton of substitutions at the last minute. Dave Sullivan was scheduled to team with Kevin. Rick Rude was supposed to wrestle Vader. Neither of those happened.
Dave Sullivan did not wrestle because he slipped in the shower.
No, the Nasty Boys beat him up. Come on.
Yes, but he appeared.
He did appear. He made an appearance in his bathrobe. Leading up to this show, one of the big angles was that there was going to be a mystery man taking on Ric Flair for the WCW Championship, and there was some talk about who it was going to be. There were some rumors. So just to sort of cut to that match, it ended up being Barry Windham. However, there was a lot of, I guess, stress.
Rumor and innuendo.
To quote Conrad, so Barry Windham wasn't actually medically cleared to wrestle until about a week before this show, and there was a lot of ideas thrown around that Terry Funk would be the one to replace him, and management actually told him to prepare to work twice on this show. In the household, sorry, go ahead.
We'll get to what Funk did later on in the show.
Yeah. On the house show loop leading up to this, there was a series of matches that were scheduled to be Rude versus Flair, but Paul Orndorff took Rude's place. So There was even talk that the mystery opponent could be Dusty Rhodes.
But he was in Hollywood.
We'll also get to that. He was standing in front of a green screen that had a Hollywood sign put on it. So this building, there appeared to be about, according to Dave, there was about 4,800 people in attendance, about 3,600 paid for a total gate of $53,000. So
business is booming.
This was the wrong city, I think, to sort of run this show, and especially since ECW at the time was just starting to get its legs, and there was a ton of signs in this crowd promoting ECW. They had signs for Sabu and Terry Funk and even Todd Gordon, and there was a lot of anti-Hulk Hogan banners that still made TV, even though that security made an effort to confiscate those at the door. There was a dark match right before the opening of the pay-per-view. It was Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma defeating Bryan and Brad Armstrong. The Armstrongs were booed unmercifully, and apparently this match sucked.
And we all know who Bryan would turn out to be.
Oh, I didn't know.
You better call somebody.
See what I did there? The opening of the pay-per-view starts with them immediately trotting out all the legends. There were 9,700 people that they trotted out to. There was a lot of legends on the show, but apparently only 6 were going into the Hall of Fame.
Well, they only had 3 hours. If it was WWE, there'd be 25 of them going in.
The one standout for this particular group of legends was Larry the Axe Hennig. First of all, they spelled his name wrong. They threw an extra N in there. And actually, Kurt Hennig came with him because he was not wrestling with WWF right there, and he came out to possibly negotiate a deal. And there was actually an interview that Flair did I don't know if it was in the TV tapings or it was just some media appearance where he talked about having a match with Mr. Perfect at the August Clash of Champions, but Perfect's contract with WWF didn't expire until the end of September, so he didn't appear on this show in any capacity, or otherwise it would have been a contract violation. Run us through these legends and tell me. I want a deep bio.
I can't do bios. I'm not. We have Ole Anderson, who at one point was the booker in WCW. I think he was the man behind the Black Scorpion.
He was the voice,
as well as the voice of the Shockmaster somehow.
All right.
We had Tully Blanchard.
Tully was looking jacked in this, but he was working later on in the show.
Yep. We also had, as you mentioned, Larry Hennig. We also had some woman named Penny Banner, who I've never heard of.
Don Curtis, who was a fountain of charisma. And then just a couple other guys they brought out Lou Thez and Ray Stevens and Wahoo McDaniel, who on this show started to he wanted to start a feud with Bobby Heenan.
We'll get to that.
There was way too many guys. It was a completely overbooked Hall of Fame. During the Hall of Fame ceremony, Gordon Solie is emceeing the ceremony, and he says, "Oh, there's the physical Hall of Fame is at CNN Center in Atlanta. I did some research, and you'll be shocked to know that Hall of Fame isn't there anymore."
No, really? I bet Jamie Kellner had something to do with that too.
So we get the opening. We get Tony and Bobby behind the mics. Ric Flair's opponent at this point is still unknown. And ECW Hat Guy made multiple appearances against the hard camera, so he'd play a role later on.
Yep. And we also have Nick Bockwinkel, who's the commissioner.
Yeah, Nick comes out holding the big gold belt, and he asks Sting to come out. And Sting was looking so pimp in his bright red suit.
It's a great pumpkin, WCW.
So they basically run some footage of Sting's match with Rude in Japan, and they said that because Rude hit him with the title belt and he dropped a knee off the top rope, which is still, what a stupid rule.
WCW rules, everybody. We keep the Bill Watts rules 2 years after he's not there anymore.
Between that and the over-the-top rope, just DQ. I don't get it. So Sting comes out and he said, he wants to win the title in the ring instead of the boardroom. What a moron. If someone's going to offer me the championship belt right there...
Bobby Heenan said the same thing.
I
agree.
So Heenan and I were on the same page here.
I'm taking it instead of having to wrestle Vader.
I'm going to get a payday. I don't have to wrestle Vader. I don't even need to change into my gear. I'll just collect my paycheck on the way out.
Just have my paycheck.
But no, Sting's a dumb baby face.
And we need an opponent for Vader.
Yeah,
nobody else booked on this show.
WCW this time really had no respect for its audience, and they knew a week before this that Rude wasn't going to be able to work, but they still continue to advertise them on their syndicated shows leading up to this, and it'll be overlooked, I think, by a lot of WCW fans because they ended up getting a much better match than they would have got, but I think just the principle behind it, the lack of respect for the audience, it's the same thing that kind of just killed them as a house show entity.
And that's why Bischoff stopped doing the house shows in '95.
The week before, both Sting and Rude were plugged on television for house show matches, even though both of them were in Japan that weekend. There were house shows on May 19th and 20th. Both Sting and Rude no-showed.
Gee, I wonder why.
Well, Rude just because of his injuries, and Sting apparently was working on Thunder in Paradise. He's got to get that acting gig in.
That's where he met Hulk Hogan. And we'll hear more about him in this show.
Yeah, so this is an excerpt from the May 30th to 1994 Wrestling Observer. And let's see, here's my notes here. Uncle Dave writes, so Rude was in Philadelphia, apparently because he wanted to fulfill his obligations, although he wouldn't be able to wrestle on the show because of the injury, which is claimed to have occurred in Japan. While Rude clearly he's been working injured for more than a year, you'll hear a lot of skepticism about the severity of this injury that was supposed to have been suffered in the Fukuoka Dome, because it came just days after Rude had stated that he wouldn't put Flair, Hogan, or Vader over. Apparently the original idea for the July 17th Bash at the Beach show was a tag match, either Hogan and Flair versus Rude and Mr. Perfect, or Hogan and Sting versus Flair and Rude, where Rude was going to do the job. While we don't have details on the situation, Rude and Ric Flair got into a serious argument in Philadelphia again, and Rude refused to do whatever he was supposed to in regards to going out there when he's being stripped of the title.
So Hogan would have been in a tag match in his first match. That does sound very WCW, but it does not end up happening.
Now, if Rude could have worked, there was also a rumor that they were going to try Rude versus Ricky Steamboat, because Steamboat wasn't on this show. He had on WCW Saturday Night the previous week, a really good match with Flair.
A rematch from Spring Stampede.
Yeah, so they were going to either try to put Sting and Steamboat together as a face versus face, and scrap Regal and Zbyszko feud, or they were thinking about doing Sting and Regal here instead of Bash at the Beach, which was originally scheduled, but Sting didn't work that show either because he had an eye injury.
Yes, because Sherry dressed up as a man.
The initial plan was for that match to have a disputed finish, perhaps a double count-out, and lead to Flair versus Vader, and separately Rude versus Sting at the June 23rd Clash of Champions with both belts at stake. But neither of that happened. By that point, Rude was gone. Sting worked Flair, and Flair turned heel with Sherry holding the World Championship until Hogan's debuted a month later at Bash on the Beach. So they're a hot shot in the world title, which is a shock as to how this company ended up the way that it did. So we get Michael Buffer doing the opening match ring announcing for the WCW US title. Johnny B. Bad versus Stunning Steve Austin, and my wife was watching this match with me, and she's like, is that who I think it is? I go, yep, that's Johnny B. Bad. And she's like,
quintessential WCW opener, because they gotta get the Bad Blaster shit out of the way first.
I used to love the Bad Blaster.
Yeah, but you gotta wonder why they always put him in the opener.
Well, because you gotta hype the crowd up. I love how he came out with, he had his little sequin cape, and it said, I love Philly on his jacket, but he still got booed out of the building.
Who's Billy?
He got booed out of the building.
No, you said, I love Billy.
No, I said, I love Philly.
Oh, Philly. Oh.
Philly.
The Philly doesn't love anybody.
Billy's still in the Battle Royal from All In.
This is a good opener.
I thought it was a little slow starting out.
No.
Johnny was looking particularly leathery today.
Minutes, yeah. First 6 or 7 minutes, it's kind of slow because they're doing all the holds and stuff.
Yeah, during their exchange, Austin dropped an illegal knee to a downed opponent, so my initial reaction is that the referee should dock him a point. Knee to a downed opponent. UFC rule. Hello?
Hello?
Oh my god, what happened?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're about 80 decibels louder than before. No worries.
What happened?
Are you playing with a fucking mute button?
No. I was playing with my volume.
Okay, stop it.
I was thinking that was a problem. No, I'm playing with the volume on my headphones because I was thinking that was a problem.
I'm not cutting a thing out of this.
Okay. Anyway.
Right. I'll make my UFC joke for a third time. Austin was dropping an illegal knee to his downed opponent, so I thought the referee should deduct a point.
Nope, wrong sport.
Oh, God.
We do have a sloppy finish here, though.
Well, before we get to that, I want to point out that they showed Sherry Martel sitting at ringside. And
Bobby Heenan says, who's her new beau?
Oh, my, I was watching this and I was wishing it was me.
Yes, indeed.
She was looking better than she ever had. Her hair was up, the little librarian glasses with the pencil in her mouth. I'm a huge fan of that.
Yep.
It was never meant to be. But
we know who she would end up with later.
Well, I was going to say, maybe she was watching her future storyline fiance, Colonel Parker, who accompanied Stunning Steve.
Mr. Robert Fuller.
Heenan makes a nice redneck remark about Wahoo McDaniel selling Indian blankets. We'll hear a retort from Mr. McDaniel later on in the show.
No, they're nice blankets.
You're going to need one. I thought this crowd was getting bored really quick. They start a chant to Colonel Parker of Kmart suit. Say, ooh, these Philly fans, they know how to burn you.
KFC.
Austin gets they're basically exchanging arm bars and side headlocks for the first about 6 minutes of this.
Way to liven up the crowd there, guys. We're going to trade holds for 6 minutes and wonder why the crowd's shitting on us.
Yeah, we're going to fire you up with these bad blasters, and then we're gonna take it low for 10 minutes. Until Austin just clobbers him on the top of the forehead with a double axe to get to eat.
Yep. Hey, we finally saw a spot.
Colonel Parker jumps up to distract the ref. Johnny decides that this is the time, now that the referee has been distracted, that he's going to try a roll-up.
Did
you notice this?
Yeah, I saw that. There's no ref.
He got a visual pinfall for what seemed like about an 8 count, and then the ref turns around, Austin kicks out, Johnny tries a top rope sunset flip for a 2, and then this finish got messed up a bit.
Austin has a side headlock, Bad goes for a back suplex, and somewhere in there, Austin kicks off the ropes and ends up on top.
I think they were trying to do like the back suplex double pin, and Austin was just supposed to roll his shoulder at the last second, but Austin ended up I don't know who messed this up, but it didn't look very pretty, but Austin ends up on top, and the referee's like, fuck this, I'm counting fast, and they end this match quickly. And
yes, because the crowd had already turned on it.
And Austin is still your U.S. champion.
Yep, good match, a little slow in the beginning.
It's a lot slower than what you would have expected from these two guys.
Yeah.
I used to be a huge Johnny B. Bad fan, because he was the first guy I ever saw do a top rope run on some guy.
Mark Merrill or Johnny B. Bad did a lot of good high spots that you never saw in American wrestling for a long time. He always did the the over the top rope plancha.
The kiss that don't miss.
The big punch. Somewhere a young Big Show was watching this going, one day I'm gonna steal that.
One day I'm gonna shoot confetti out of a t-shirt gun.
Yep.
We get fucking Mean Gene pushing the goddamn hotline. These guys were such money grubbers. I'm shocked that they didn't make a fortune off of the stupid ignorant fan calling the 900 line.
I never called that because I don't think my mom would have won for it. Plus, those hotlines are scams.
Oh, come on now. For 99 cents a minute, you were able to call the WCW hotline and listen to...
And they'd give you the options for the first minute.
And you're able to vote if Cactus Jack should be banned from WCW.
What exactly did he do to warrant this ban?
Apparently, he's just too rough. He's
hardcore. He's hardcore.
I would have loved to call the hotline and have them say, you know what, he just didn't want to put someone over.
He didn't want to do the job to Paul Orndorff.
It's like, well, you know, he was arguing a botched finish, and
he didn't want to agree to do the Lost in Cleveland skits.
And
who would?
He was seen coming out of the same locker room as Vader, which was a strict no-no.
He beat up Harley Race. Well, that could have been any of their matches.
We also have the option on the hotline to talk to Colonel Parker and the Stud Stable.
That actually sounds... I would have chosen that.
Think of the stories that the Fullers could have told on there if they were just able to do whatever they wanted.
And you had a lot of money.
So then Gene brings in Ernie Ladd. He's just a big, humble guy, and he's just so thankful for being a part of this business. And then they bring Wahoo McDaniel in and says, "Hey, Heenan, these are good Indian blankets. You're gonna need one day when you die."
Thanks for enforcing a stereotype there, Chief.
Bobby got the last laugh because Wahoo died before Bobby did.
And Greg Valentine broke the casket.
Then we get Dusty Rhodes from Hollywood.
Oh, God. Or just a big green screen. I'm out making movies!
And here's my $1 million smile. And then he made a scary face that was supposed to be a smile.
And you wonder why Dusty and Dustin were not on good terms for a long time. He's not even there for one of his son's matches. Good job, Dust.
Oh, man.
I neglected you.
Maybe there was an envelope somewhere backstage that someone was holding over his head.
I was in Hollywood and I neglected you, Dustin.
We get the Legends match, Tully Blanchard versus Terry Funk. Now, I had heard stories about this. I don't know if it's a legendary match or if it's just one of those matches that you just have to go and see, and I was excited to see this. You sound like you're not so enthused with this one.
It was a fun brawl, but in the beginning, but it turns out to be a mess as you go through. And you do a pile driver through a piece of wood that doesn't get a DQ. And then the referee gets nailed.
The wood went into business for itself.
The referee gets nailed.
So Funk starts out by walking out to the crowd. The first thing he does is he jumps the rail and he's celebrating with the fans. ECW hat guy is raping with him with his eyes. He's so happy that Terry Funk is standing on a chair next to him.
I'm Terry Funk. I'm like, I'm gonna get out of this crowd as soon as I can. This guy's creeping me out.
Those two must have had to have been friends because they did a lot of spots together.
Yep.
So Blanchard jumps Terry on the outside. They both start brawling. Funk tries to steal a set of crutches from a fan in the front row. Not the only time those crutches would make an appearance here.
That fan didn't have a leg to stand on, by God.
They fight for about 8 seconds in the ring when they both spill out to their ramp. Terry chops Blanchard. He falls down. And this was when WCW had that long ramp, but it was the same level as the ring apron. So
it's always a good idea.
So he falls down on this ramp, and then he just rolls off the ramp onto the floor.
Whoopsie. It's like he's rolling out of bed.
So that's when Funk rips off a piece of the, was it a piece of the wooden steps?
Could have been.
Anyways,
it was something.
He gets this big piece of plywood, and I'm assuming it's part of the steps. He sets it up on the bottom rope. So it's like an L shape on the bottom rope, and he pile drives Blanchard on this. Nick Patrick, the referee, is just, now, Terry, don't put any more furniture in here.
You egg-sucking dog, Nick Patrick!
Gordon Soley's telling us that the reason that Nick Patrick is the referee was because he apparently had a very successful wrestling career before he blew a knee out. Do we have any proof of this?
No, because I've never seen any footage.
So the crowd is chanting, "We want blood." There's another
Of course.
There's another sloppy pile driver by Funk in the ring. He then misses a moonsault. Funk lands right on his probably surgically repaired hip.
Many times surgically repaired.
There's Tully hits him with some stiff chops in the corner. Funk whips Tully and gets thrown into the ref, who takes a comical gyrating bump.
Ha!
Funk then goes out, grabs a chair, and he sets. We think we're going to smack Tully with it, but he sets it up in the or he sets up the chair near the corner, and then he attempts to pile drive Tully from the top rope onto the chair, and Tully was having none of this. So he's like, "Nope, screw this." And they just kind of tumble to the floor. They start kicking back and forth, and then Melee Tully kicks the referee, and the referee disqualifies both guys. So that went about 7 minutes.
Yep. And we have a double DQ.
Funk then stumbles over back again to ECW Hat Guy in the front row. He grabs his hat. He parades around like a drunken college student at Mardi Gras. He then throws the hat to the ground and starts elbow dropping and headbutting it.
But don't worry, Hat Guy has another one of these hats somewhere.
I think ECW's Hat Guy it's like Homer Simpson when he shaves his beard. It's just, another one just appears.
Magic!
So Funk then walks past the broadcast booth, and for no reason, he just calls Bobby Heenan a son of a bitch. That's why Terry's awesome.
You son of a bitch.
So hey, for $24.95, did you buy the Slamboree
I don't even think I bought this pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure this was one of the first wrestling tapes I bought, though.
Well, for $24.95, you can get a program, which, it's a program, and you get a t-shirt that has a rectangular picture of the program on it.
Somebody somewhere bought this.
We get our first look at Jesse Ventura interviewing Ric Flair. What was Ric Flair wearing? No, he wasn't wearing his robe. He was wearing this sort of, it's a short sleeve, button up golf shirt with this sort of...
He's breaking the gimmick. Maybe he's hanging out with Zabisco.
He stole one of Larry's shirts. It's like this Aztec themed, inspired golf shirt. It was not one of Rick's best fashion choices.
That's a good promo, though, as Flair is wont to do.
Yeah, there's a video recap of WCW Saturday Night where Parker's Mystery Man was attacking Flair, and Flair's like basically, "Hey, when you're the champ, you prepare for everyone."
6'7", over 300 pounds.
Oh, he was over 300 pounds, depending on when he ate last.
And next match, Zabisco, Regal.
I was looking forward to this one.
Non-title.
Yeah, they didn't even establish the fact that Regal was the TV champ until the end of this.
Right, this match was not for the title. I'm guessing this is something they kind of put on the card to go with the Legends gimmick. Although, Zabisco and Regal would have a match for the TV title later, a couple of weeks after this.
Well, this whole program, I think, was the result of sort of... Well, it was a culmination of the, Rick Rude contract status. Was Sting going to be around? Did they have a spot for Steamboat? What were they going to do? And Zabisco really had no intention on doing any more programs, but they talked him into this. And I remember watching the TV leading up to this, and I'd heard of Larry Zabisco from the magazines. I knew he was in AWA. I knew that he was just a semi-retired announcer. And then when they announced that there was going to be a program with this announcer guy, they played him up as this legend of all legends.
Mm-hmm. It's Larry Zabisco. This would be one of many programs he would have coming out of semi-retirement over the years in WCW.
Yeah, Regal is announced at 18 stone and 2 pounds, and as a high school student with no internet in 1994, I spent an hour in my school library trying to figure out how big 18 stone was.
240?
Well, apparently according to Google, 18 stone 2 pounds, if my math is correct, is about 254 pounds.
Ooh.
Which seems bigger. A little high for Regal.
Eating a lot of tea and crumpets, are we?
This match was not exciting at all.
We do see Sherry in the crowd again, and Heenan with the line. Can you imagine her with Prince Charles at 2 a.m?
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. You imagine her hanging out with Lady Di?
That's not her name. That's just what they wanted. That's just what people wanted her to do. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it too soon? It's only been 18 years? 20 years? I don't know.
21 years.
So, as a hallmark in a lot of Zbyszko matches, there's a ton of stalling. He's trying to frustrate Regal. Regal has the best frustrated face of anyone I've ever seen.
Regal's facials are the best of any wrestler I've ever seen.
And just
his reactions to everything.
Just the little things like when he would tell someone to shut your bloody mouth.
Oh, and Regal was also accompanied by Bill Dundee, or Sir William.
Sir William. Very first time I ever saw Regal on TV was the Marquess of Queensberry Cup series against Flair. Do you remember those?
I don't think I ever saw those because I don't think I saw Worldwide until like 97.
Okay, well the concept of that was Flair had challenged the best technical wrestler to a series of 5-minute matches with a point system. And they had 3 judges. And one of the judges for those was Sergeant Craig Pittman.
Oh, goody.
So that was our introduction to the Pitbull. Anyways, this match was kind of boring. Regal gets the heat with some uppercuts and some forearms. Larry slaps on an abdominal stretch, and he gets dirty by grabbing the ropes and then denying that he did it to the referee. Regal gets the advantage with he tries a sleeper. Larry reverses that, tries a sleeper that's broken up with a jawbreaker. Sir William clocks Larry in the back of the head with an umbrella.
No disqualification call.
Was the ref distracted then, or just did he not notice? I don't remember.
Maybe Regal had him distracted or something. Making sure Regal was awake.
Regal tried the double underhook butterfly suplex. Larry backdrops him and bridges for the pin.
Over a year and a half out of the ring, and he wins his first match back.
A year and a half. It's like he served time in Shawshank for 30 years and then came back.
Well, I believe before this, the last time Zbyszko had wrestled was Wrestle War 92, which would have been over 2 years before this. Maybe exactly 2 years.
Right. Well, he lost the match for his team.
Yep, and then he hung around for a little bit and then left.
So they did mention that Regal was the TV champion, thus killing the credibility of the title, the prestigious TV championship.
But do we really want to see this match go for 15 minutes?
I think it went the right length, especially since they were going to do a rematch later on. Larry would actually go on to hold the TV title for a couple weeks before losing it back.
And then Regal would have a random match with Antonio Inoki on a Clash. For no reason.
We get Mean Gene back, once again pushing the hotline, said that he is going to go meet Hulk Hogan. Terry Funk comes in and basically just says he's a hardcore wrestler and it's live TV and I'm never leaving and you can't make me stop. And then Gene stops the interview.
And Terry shoots on Dusty, calls him a egg-sucking dog.
Terry's been around for so long, he doesn't know the rule that you never grab Gene's mic. Because
you also never, you never grab Gene's mic.
You do and Gene will fuck you up.
Gene's probably already got a few drinks in him.
Well, he already had drinking plans, later on in the show with some of these legends.
Well, he probably drank before the show.
I'd drink too if I was employed by this company.
And our next match is a bull rope match.
Well, we get the Hall of Fame induction ceremony first.
Luckily, they kept this quick.
What do you mean quick? This went like 25 minutes.
Because we can't. WCW, everybody. Instead of having a couple more matches on this show, we do a Hall of Fame segment.
Yeah, we could have had, I don't know, for some reason, I'm just torn up at the fact that Ricky Steamboat wasn't on the show. Instead, they have a Hall of Fame ceremony where they're giving not even plaques, they're giving giant picture frames. Because the guy...
Who was left off the show that could have been on? Steamboat, Pretty Wonderful could have had a match.
Max Payne made an appearance, and he wasn't even on the show.
Who else? Stars and Stripes, Harlem Heat. Bunch of people.
So they're handing it. So there's 6 inductees into the Hall of Fame. They have Harley Race, the Crusher, Ernie Ladd, who was still like 3 feet taller than anyone else in the ring, the Masked Assassin, who I'm shocked is actually still alive to this day. His face is just oozing out of his mask.
And the reason he's here is because Nick. The reason he is here is because Nick Patrick's the referee, and that's his son.
That's his daddy. So Ole Anderson.
He got his daddy's job.
Ole Anderson's being honored, and then posthumously Dick the Bruiser, whose daughter came out to accept on his behalf, and she had tremendous 90s hairspray hair. She must have put 3 cans of Vidal Sassoon in that mop, but. So
maybe some herbal essences.
So they're handing out these plaques, but they're not even plaques because you can see when they shift around or they're handing them these plaques, they're basically picture frames because you can see on the back there's the spot where you can hang the picture frame either horizontally or vertically with like the staples pushed in. So you just take it out.
Who has a meaningless Hall of Fame? WCW or Impact?
You can put a photo in there, push the staples back, and that's your Hall of Fame plaque. Ghetto.
Yay. 25 minutes that we could have had like 2 extra matches on this show. Instead, we have this segment.
And then Gordon Soley tells a story about the Bruiser and his grandson, and it's supposed to be real emotional, and I just wanted this to be done.
Just end this.
I have no feeling about a child and his grandfather. Let's move on. I want to hear Colonel Parker being interviewed by Jesse Ventura.
Yep, that's what happened.
She's saying, my bunkhouse book is going to hospitalize that Rhodes boy in the bull rope match.
And then my mystery man is going to beat that Ric Flair and become the WCW champion, I do declare.
Oh, but Colonel Parker, can you tell me who it's going to be?
You're just going to have to wait like everybody else.
Oh, back to you, back to ringside. We suck at this. Dustin Rhodes and Bunkhouse Buck in the jeans tucked into your cowboy boots match.
It's a ballroom match.
They're very clear to notify us that right at the beginning that this is not your standard Indian strap match. They have to throw a racist word in there, where you're not just going to touch all 4 corners. You're just going to beat your opponent senseless with, what this match needs is more cowbell.
It needs Dusty Rhodes' WWF theme.
So, Dustin starts the match by wrapping Buck's leg around the post. ECW Hat Guy is losing his mind in the front row. Buck pulls Dustin's shirt over his head. I think Terry gave him his hat back.
And he took it. I wouldn't take it. He had it in his mouth.
I mean, no. A new one just appeared. Buck pulls Dustin's shirt over his head and starts whipping him with his belt. Dustin had his head inside his shirt for what seemed like days.
I can't see. My head's stuck in my shirt. I'm a 3-year-old.
Dustin hits an overhead slam to Buck off the top rope. The ref gets bumped again. Who's agenting these matches? How many ref bumps do we need on the same show?
This is the second one.
This is the second of 4, I believe.
And they probably all happen to Nick Patrick.
He's a worker, you know. So Colonel Parker tries...
such a great worker that I've never seen any of his matches.
Hey, just because you're a wrestler, you can wrestle and not be on TV, just like Larry Zbyszko. Because Bobby said, hey, he could have been wrestling somewhere, we don't know.
Wrestling in like Worcester, Massachusetts somewhere?
He's wrestling on
Rockford, Illinois.
Indie mud shows, as Jim likes to call it.
Yep.
So the ref gets bumped again. Colonel Parker's interference backfires. Dustin nails Buck in the head with the cowbell for the victory. I don't know how long this match went, but I don't know. It's kind of a fun brawl.
Yeah, this is a fun brawl, and of course, this is in Philly, so they try to appeal to that audience by having a few brawls on the show. And we have Dustin winning, and then you bring out, he's celebrating, and all of a sudden, here comes Terry Funk.
You mean the evil, diabolical heel in Philadelphia? No, this guy was over like Hogan in the Garden.
Yeah.
So Funk sneaks to the ring. You can see him inching to the ring slowly to sneak up on
Who
Dustin.
is that man carrying a branding iron?
So they double team Dustin. They hit him with the branding iron. Who Heenan claims that the branding iron is red, so it must be hot. Like they just have a kiln backstage for this branding iron. They give him a spike pile driver, and then the officials break up the fight, and Terry decides that he's had enough.
I've had enough, damn it!
This would, of course, lead to the angle where Dustin convinces Arn Anderson, of all people, to be his tag partner against Funk and Buckhouse.
Gee, I wonder what's gonna happen.
What could possibly go wrong? Well, spoiler alert, Arn turned on Dustin, became the lead guy in the stud stable, rendering Dustin a geek.
and then you bring in Dusty Rhodes and the Face Nasty Boys.
Right, you couldn't bring in, Dusty now. Dusty has to be the giant babyface hero and come and save the day.
Nope, we have to save him for TV.
Right. Heenan says he's going to go backstage just to see what Terry Funk is up to.
Goody, that sounds like a great idea.
Translation, he needed to take a piss break and probably get a couple drinks.
After the matches he's had to call tonight.
So, we get our third push of the hotline, again, for 99 cents a minute. Vote to whether or not we should ban Cactus Jack.
Hey, Bash at the Beach is coming up, or is that later?
That was the next pay-per-view.
Yeah, and they have that video package.
Mean Gene is interviewing Red Bastien and Ray Stevens. They say nothing of any note. They just put WCW over. Although I will say Red Bastien had a fine-looking mustache.
Yep. That takes long enough for Dusty Ventura to wander out to do commentary for 2 matches.
So it's now time for Ric Flair and his mystery challenger. So Flair comes out, and Flair is the world champion, but he's wearing the small version of the world title.
And he comes out the first.
He comes out first because he's the champion, and we're told that he can decide whether or not he wants to come up. But, of course, they want to build up the
intrigue.
The reveal.
Yep.
So, like I was saying, it seems, if Flair's going to be a world champion, it seems weird, and it looks weird for me him not to be wearing the big gold belt.
And Colonel Parker comes out and gets the microphone.
To Arn Anderson's music, by the way.
Gets the microphone and compliments Michael Buffer. You're doing a fine job, sir.
No, he wasn't. He was doing a shitty job.
Yes, and I'm now going to bring out my man you know quite well. It's Barry Windham.
Yeah. As soon as he said he was from Sweetwater, Texas, the crowd knew, and they popped. And then Windham looked out. He came out looking every bit of 315. And
yes.
he was already limping on his, recently surgically repaired knee.
He's Kevin Nash. He hurt himself before he got in the ring.
So after Barry
my goodness, it's Barry Windham. Thanks, Tony.
So after Barry Windham makes his entrance, then Buffer, damn it, he's still got a job to do. He still has to announce, the champion. He called the referee Randy Peterson.
Randy Anderson, you idiot.
So they established that Windham had the world title last year at Beach Blast, and Flair ended that title reign, and then he had to have knee surgery.
Which apparently July to 1 of 93 to May of 94 is 6 months.
Now wait a minute. 1, 2, 7, carry the 6. I think that's wrong.
Yes. It's like 9 months. Or 10.
So these two have had much better matches in the past. The aforementioned Beach Blast from '92,
probably some matches from Crockett.
Yeah, a lot of the matches were a lot better than this, and lots of heavy chops by Flair. It's every Flair match you've ever seen. He does the front roll flip off the buckle, runs to the top rope, hits a cross body,
and wins the match.
And that's the finish.
And Barry Windham is now Harley Race.
I was impressed with Flair's strength. He was able to get Windham up and hold him up for a delayed vertical suplex for a near fall.
Yeah, he also gets the figure four on him, but they're painfully close to the ropes.
Jesse Ventura finally realizes that Sherry is at ringside, laying the groundwork for her connection with Flair later in the summer.
Hey, Sherry's here. Who invited her, Tony?
Do you think she had to buy a ticket? I just wanted Tony to turn and say, yeah, moron, she had to buy a damn ticket.
And that's why they fired him in favor of Heenan. Other than the fact that they found him sleeping outside somewhere.
So Gene's interviewing more legends, Don Curtis, who said nothing, and the Crusher, who was the star of all stars when it came to the legends, who said after the show they're going to get drunk and find some fat women.
We're going to get drunk and we're going to dance the polka with some fat women. Sounds like a good time.
I won't call what happened next a promo, but there was a man on TV talking about refereeing a tag title match. It was Dave Schultz, former Philadelphia
And not
Flyers.
that Dave Schultz, but the hockey player.
Not the cartoonist. And not Dr. D.
Yeah, that's the David Schultz I was referencing.
They didn't think of that beforehand, did they? So
No.
some old school WWF fan probably was like reading this report, and if they hadn't mentioned the fact that he was a hockey player from the 70s, I guess they're doing some cross promotion. Anyways, Schultz is shown, I guess, in a pre-tape saying that I am the referee. I will make them follow the rules.
In a street fight.
In a street fight. But I just gave it 10 times the charisma that he actually did.
And he comes out to Kevin Sullivan's music, which is weird.
He gets introduced by Michael Buffer, and Buffer is, this is an exact quote, the rules are as follows, anything goes.
There are no rules.
So there are no rules.
Good job, Michael Buffer. This is why we pay you the big bucks that we couldn't pay Gary Michael Capetta.
And then he says, pinfalls could count anywhere. And my immediate thought was, there's going to be two sets of guys pairing off, probably on opposite sides of the building. How the hell is anyone going to count a pinfall if both guys are down at the same time?
We need a second and third referee for this match. Nick Patrick, Randy Peterson, get out here.
The father of Adrian.
It's Anderson, damn it.
So Cactus Jack and Kevin Sullivan come up first. Sullivan's wearing a Phillies jersey, even though everyone knows that he's a diehard Red Sox fan. So he's already working us.
Babyface Kevin Sullivan.
The devil worshiper.
Only in wrestling.
Buffer introduces the Nasty Boys as being from somewhere nasty.
In New York City.
Although, I don't know, Allentown, Pennsylvania is a pretty nasty city, I hear.
Yep. No Missy Hyatt because she had left by this time.
Yeah, the only redeeming quality in this act.
Yep. And they would be faces a few months later.
That's true, because they would get recruited by the Rhodeses, right?
Yeah. For Fall Brawl.
Rhodeses? I don't know.
If we do another show one of these days, we're going to have to do that one, because I've heard good things about the War Games, and I've never actually seen it.
Have you never seen a War Games, or you just haven't seen that particular one?
That particular show I've never seen.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, from what I know of that show, on the level of War Games matches, it's pretty low on the War Games totem pole.
Really?
Although Terry Funk does get pile driven on a pumpkin.
Huh. Oh, Pumpkinhead and Terry Funk. We'll talk about that if we do another show like this one day.
So this match is exactly how you would expect. Tons of just brawling, lots of plunder. Cactus gets hit with a fire extinguisher. Sullivan gives Knobs a really awkward-looking pile driver on the ramp, keeping in mind that Knobs is probably about 325 pounds legit, and Sullivan's about 5'4".
Gave a 300-pound man a pile driver.
So that makes for a great visual. Cactus tried a second rope elbow to Knobs, but Knobs moved, and Cactus went crashing into a trash can.
Mick Bully hates his body. We know this.
Fucking Tony Schiavone throughout this. As is the hallmark with every of these hardcore plunder worrying for these guys' concussion matches. Tony's laughing through all this. He's just having a great old time. He's not taking any of this shit seriously. I hate when he has done that. And Tony's always been one of my favorite announcers.
I like Tony as well, but I think WCW always had trouble kind of, presenting these hardcore matches.
Jerry Sykes stole one of Bill Apter's cameras. He starts whipping Cactus with it.
Take a picture of this, Apter.
That's what you get for putting me so low in the 500.
But he didn't make them the 1994 Tag Team of the Year, for some reason.
No, maybe Sykes bought him a new camera to make up for it.
Yep.
But he's swinging this camera like it's Thor's hammer or something. Poor Cactus, he took some hits in this one.
Yep. And then people interfere.
Well, and the other guy that took, I think, the worst beating was Knobs. You see some of those unprotected chair shots that Sullivan's giving him.
Oh, Knobs.
Sags talks Cactus off the ramp through a table on the floor, which was set up.
Yep.
Which is weird, so Sags automatically broke the rule that if you set up a table, you're supposed to be the one that takes it.
Yep.
So clearly he's also going into business for himself. Dave Schultz, the referee, is standing there like a dork. He's not doing anything. He's not enforcing anything. And he's wearing his Flyers jersey. And it's tucked into his dress pants.
Well, technically, he doesn't have any rules to enforce. This is a street fight. What are you going to tell him to do?
If you're supposed to be an enforcer, at least look like you're not a 7-year-old kid getting ready to go to church. With your dress shirt.
Or look like you're interested.
Tuck your shirt into your nice dress pants. Look ridiculous. So, speaking of Dave Schultz, why don't you walk us through the finish here with the hockey stick?
Doesn't one of the Nasty Boys go after Dave Schultz? One of them?
Sags.
Sags does. And then he gets hit with a hockey stick. And Cactus, I think, scores the pin, or is it Sullivan?
Sags went to go for the hockey stick that Dave Schultz brought out, by the way. So he's fine with these competitors hitting each other with chairs and tables and fire extinguishers and all manner of plunder. But the hockey stick, that's over the top.
That's my weapon!
That's too violent, or, if you didn't want someone to use it, this is why we can't have nice things. So Sags tries to use the hockey stick, Schultz takes it away, they jar back and forth a bit, and then Schultz pulls Sags' shirt over his head like a hockey fight, and just starts punching the Jesus out of him. He must have landed about 8 or 9 straight punches.
He's clobbering him, Tony!
At this point, Cactus now has the hockey stick, which Schultz is fine with. If the baby faces have weapons, they're fine. So he bonks Sags on what ended up being his shoulder, covers him, and Schultz makes the fastest 3 count that any referee ever has.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So we have winners, we have new tag team champions. As it turns out, Sags ended up breaking his shoulder during this match.
Yep.
So there's a post-match beatdown. Sags grabs the hockey stick.
Your baby faces, everybody.
He starts beating Cactus. Dave Schultz just decides, no, I've done my job, I'm going to leave now. And then Max Payne, of all people, comes out, and he does the El Kabong with a guitar on Sags, which I think that's what caused the shoulder injury.
Ironically, considering where Max Payne would be going and the gimmick he would have.
No, he didn't care. He's going to be out. I may as well nail someone with a shoe guitar.
A Man Mountain Rock.
So Sags was lying down in the ring for a couple of minutes. He
It's 5-on-2, Shivani.
So Knobs is trying to walk back to the ring, or walk back to the dressing room, but he's got Cactus and Kevin. He's got Max Payne. Then Dave Sullivan comes out and whacks Knobs with his crutches.
God damn it, these are your baby faces.
A 4-on-1 babyface advantage. Good job.
Good booking, WCW. Good job.
And actually, at the MGM Disney tapings that they did about a week before this show, Cactus and Kevin came out and cut a promo already holding the tag titles. They did this so often, they're shooting championship angles before the match airs. They did the same thing when Pretty Wonderful were to go on and win the tag titles later on in the year.
WCW, everybody. We tape 18 weeks of TV in 3 days. Kind of like Impact used to.
In front of fans that are just Disney marks and don't care about wrestling.
Yes, because our business sucks.
Buffer had to make a third announcement that Sullivan and Cactus won.
Because Philadelphia fans are not smart. Oh boy.
Yeah. Buffer was like, I'm here to do my job, I'm gonna make my announcement, and you fuckers are gonna listen. They're the champs.
Next.
We're back with Gene again, pushing the pole.
Oh, God.
See, he's like, based on what we just saw, I don't think Cactus Jack should be wrestling. No mention of Sullivan or the Nasty Boys at all.
And, of course, you're going to bring in 2 old fogies to interview next. Vern Gagne and somebody else.
Lou Thez.
That's what I saw.
The 2 hardest of the hardcores.
What I just saw here was not wrestling. No shit.
This was just a fight. And it's like, dude, you're in Philadelphia. You're the biggest heel of all. And Vern Gagne had the reputation of probably being the most hated promoter of any company. But out here, they're treating him like a god. Lou Thez says, the Nasty Boys and Cactus, they didn't use the point system.
Is this amateur wrestling?
I love Lou. I've always thought he was great for the business. Totally miscast here. And then we get our main event.
Sting versus Vader.
Sting coming out looking super oily.
Oh yeah, oily
it's like he took a shower in olive oil before he came out. He looked slippery as hell.
I must not let Vader catch me.
Buffer fucks up the referee for his name for a second time, and okay, I get it. Mistakes happen, although they happen way more often when the ring announcer doesn't have a damn clue. I guess they thought that because this guy announces real sports for a living that no one has the guts to tell him that he made a mistake.
I ring announce Mike Tyson fights. You do not correct me.
You'll notice he also announced Sting as a former 4-time champ, but he never acknowledged that Vader's a former champ.
Nope.
And who did Vader beat to win his world title?
Sting.
So there's a small chant early of Sting must die.
Philadelphia, everybody.
Why can't Bobby Heenan call a Sting match without making an Earl Scheib reference? We get it. He paints cars, Sting wears paint. It's the same joke all the time.
Stick!
I guess the rule is you need to treat all your audiences as though they're listening and tuning in for the first time.
Just in case you missed it, everybody.
Vader corners Sting in the corner. I guess that's why he's cornering it, because he's in the corner. He does his mauling him like a bear a bit, then he backs away. He does it for a second time, and he backs away. I see a pattern developing here.
Tony brings up all their matches except for the White Castle of Fear.
He did mention that.
Oh, and then he said Vader beat Sting for the title at Great American Bash 92.
The King of Cable. And the White Castle of Fear. I think he mentioned that.
No, he did not. He mentioned the Bash match and the King of Cable because he said they had 2 matches previous.
Oh, well, and both of them were better than this one.
Yeah. Give Cheatham some props, goddammit. No, wrong show. This one also suffers from having a little bit of a finish that falls apart because Harley Race gets involved with the chair, much like at Spring Stampede when he clocked Rude. He clocks Vader, and there's no ref for a little because he got bumped.
Another ref bump.
Yep, and Sting hit the DDT, and the ref magically recovers and counts a slow count. And then Sting goes for another pinfall. Race gets involved again, because he did not get ejected for the first time, because there was no ref. And he goes for the headbutt, and it hits Vader. Sting doesn't even go after Race, climbs the ropes, and he lands a big splash and scores the pin.
And Sting is your new International World Champion. A title which he would hold on for about a month until that title and Ric Flair's world title would be amalgamated at the Clash of Champions show where Hulk Hogan made his debut.
Yes. This is not Sting and Vader's best match. And Sting gets the win. He's the new International Champion. Ending a good pay-per-view. A very good show, though.
I thought overall it was a fun show. It was kind of marred by some botched finishes, some production snafus, Buffer being Buffer. You'll notice at the end of the show that Sting wins the title, his music is playing, and then his music stops because he's left the arena, and then all the pyro goes off.
Whoops!
So pyro comes a little bit late on the draw on that one.
Wait for it! And Vader's throwing around furniture to end the show.
Well, maybe they're setting the pyro off to celebrate that Vader would work against the Big Boss Man at the next show.
Oh, God. The Guardian Angel.
And Sting wouldn't even be on the show.
He has an eye injury because Sherry dressed up like a man. It's Charlie Chaplin. Nope, Sherry.
Didn't they say storyline-wise that his injury was caused by Regal?
No, even though they show the footage that Sherry did it.
Okay.
By poking him in the eyes.
Because I know that they were at Bash at the Beach. Sting. It was supposed to be Sting and Regal.
Yep. And they showed the footage because there was a match.
He scratched his cornea. He can't do because he can't see because the girl poked him in the face.
She didn't scratch his cornea. She was adjusting his face paint. His face paint was out of place.
She was Earl Scheib.
And what did you think? You said this was a fun show. This is definitely a fun show. One that people should watch. And you know what? I think that I don't know. I think that's it.
Yeah. The tag match was fun if you like that sort of hardcore plunder stuff. Watching it with 2018 eyes, I'm thinking these are four guys that are going to be messed up in a couple years. But watching it in a vacuum...
Well, to be fair, Kevin Sullivan's always been messed up, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
And so was Foley.
Go watch the tag match, and, I thought the Dustin Bunkhouse match was kind of fun, and even the opener was kind of cool, even with the finish, but... That'll do it for Slamboree 1994. Now, I guess I need to decide what we're going to watch next, and I put zero thought into this. So I'm just going to go at random. I'm going to pick the WWF pay-per-view, the only pay-per-view that has ever been done in my home city of Winnipeg, Manitoba, October 1995, In Your House 4, which was headlined by Big Daddy Cool Diesel defending the title against the British Bulldog.
And that'll be, next month? But we'll be back before then.
We'll be back before then to cover the Ring of Honor pay-per-view, which is at the end of September. I'm hoping we can tape episode 6 of Angry Marks Rewind before then.
Okay, just let me know when.
Yeah. Usually, what we like to, or what I would like to do before is probably get about a week and a half to 2 weeks in between episodes.
Alrighty, so probably somewhere around the weekend of the 21st to the 23rd. I might be able to do it the 23rd because I'm going to be gone the 21st and 22nd for local shows.
Okay. Well, let me know and we can work around that. The good thing about Angry Marks Rewind is that it's not really schedule based, so we can tape them whenever we want. So.
Yep.
On that note, if you want to get a hold of us, you can get in touch with me on Twitter at Rowan Unruh. If you have any show suggestions that you want us to do, you can email me at angrymarksrewind@gmail.com. Go ahead. This will also be up on
SoundCloud.
AngryMark. You know what? I've given up on SoundCloud because they have a very limited space. So it's not going to be on SoundCloud. It will be on iTunes probably the next couple of days. It'll also be on the Angry Marks website as well as the Angry Marks YouTube channel. So go check those out. We're going to put a description in the doobly-doo so you can check it out. You can get in touch with us. How can people get a hold of you?
They can hit me up on Facebook if they want to. Just look for Mike Poulin on Facebook, and I don't know, Mike Poulin Wrestling 5286 on Twitter, and that's it.
All right. So Mike, thanks so much for coming on. I'm hoping this is going to be a fruitful relationship, and I look forward to talking to you again when we go in your house.
In your house.
I was at that show.
Oh boy, what a show you got.
Oh, hey, we saw the pay-per-view debut of a young man who, I don't know whatever happened to him, but his name was Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Also because he was on SummerSlam 95.
What am I thinking of?
Goldust.
Goldust debuted
on that show, because that was one of the things they built up for it.
See, now I'm confused, because I went to this show and I also went to the Raw show in Brandon the day after.
Goldust was the pay-per-view debut here, and yeah.
Was it him and Holly?
Him
and Jannetty?
Him and Jannetty.
Oh, okay, because I knew it was one of those two. So we're gonna see. If I can remember just off the top of my head, we get Diesel and the Bulldog on top. We get
Guns. Shawn Michaels dropping a title by forfeit because Marines beat him up.
Marine beat him up.
Post-concussion syndrome.
The rumor of 13 Marines is hardly legit. So
he lost his smile. Oh wait, that was later.
It's just another example of Shawn wanting to, not wanting to lose to a guy and lose a belt. So we'll also get, like you said, Razor and 1-2-3 Kid versus Smoking Guns. We got King Mabel against Yokozuna. Hunter Hearst Helmsley against Fatu. I want to make a change, Fatu.
Rikishi in a failed gimmick.
Complete with his toque and his red pleather jacket.
And a bad rap song, and Gangsta's trying to make him back into the head shrinker or something.
And Bret Hart versus Isaac Yankem in a dark match, which didn't make the show. But was probably the best show of the match of the night.
Best match of the night. And for that, I believe that might be a wrap.
That is. All right, everyone. Thanks very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to go watch the rest of the football game that I taped. Watch the Packers open their season tomorrow, and we will talk to you again in a little while.
See you later.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.